There are 1.5 million mortgage holders at risk of mortgage stress. There are 62% of renters in rental stress. But in that same year that we are in one of the worst housing crises we've seen in generations, the Commonwealth Bank has recorded a record $10 billion in profit. There are people going to the supermarket right now making tough choices between feeding their kids and paying the rent, finding their grocery bills going up every week. But at the same time that is happening, Coles and Woolworths have just recorded record profits. And in fact, Coles has just recorded a $1.1 billion profit and Woolworths a $1.62 billion profit. Their profits are going up at the same time as people's household costs, financial stress and cost of living is going up at the same time. We have a political and economic system so entirely stacked against ordinary people that we can have the Coles and Woolworths come out and talk about how they're going to crack down on people, on more theft occurring at supermarkets, while at the same time they're robbing millions of Australians blind, abusing their market power, driving up costs, while we have a government and a Labor government unwilling to hold them to account. I mean, the gall of these massive corporations making massive profits, turning around and saying, oh, we don't understand while theft is going up. Well, what happens when a single mum has at the supermarket and knows if she can steal a carton of milk, then she'll be able to make sure her kids get a good feed the next day? And all of a sudden, the society and the media are focusing on that and not focusing on the fact that these corporations are robbing Australians blind. Now, there is entirely a solution that the government could pursue. Indeed, we've had it costed by the Parliamentary Budget Office. They could introduce a super profits tax on these corporations. They could make clear to the Commonwealth Bank, to Coles, to Woolworths, to the gas corporations robbing us blind, that enough is enough, and every time you earn a super profit, every time you price gouge Australians, then that will be taxed, and we will raise tens of billions of dollars that we can put back towards giving relief to renters, giving relief to mortgage holders. We can use it to incentivise a freeze and cap on rent increases. We can use it to bring dental into Medicare. We can use it to raise the pension and other government payments above the poverty line to ensure everyone in this country lives a good life. Perhaps the cruelest irony is that every time inflation has gone up over the last 24 months, every time the Reserve Bank has polled up to Australians and they've solemnly said, oh, well, the way to deal with the inflation crisis is to raise interest rates. And all that does is put pain on mortgage holders, on renters and on ordinary people doing it tough, and does nothing to address the real cause for the inflation crisis, which is massive super corporate profits. Does anyone seriously believe that it's workers and wages that are causing the inflation crisis? And a lot of economists now have made very clear that what is causing the inflation crisis, what is causing the cost of living crisis, is companies like Coles and Woolworths abusing their duopoly power and driving up the cost of living, driving up prices and driving up profits. And then the only solution that our government has, really, is to rely on the Reserve Bank to jack up interest rates, which only puts people in more financial stress and more pain and punishes the people who have nothing to do with this, while allowing banks like the Commonwealth Bank to drive out their profits even more. That's how rigged this system is against ordinary people. Now, we do have solutions: a freeze and cap on rent increases, taxing super profits to make sure those corporations are disincentivised from driving up their prices, because they know if they do, then we'll just tax that and use that to do things like bring dental into Medicare, build public and affordable housing, fully fund our public education system so the public schools aren't forced to charge exorbitant student fees, things that have been done before in countries around the world. Not only that, but we could also, for instance, scrap student debt. And that's the other deep irony, the cruel feedback mechanism that is screwing people over, that every time Coles, Woolworths and Commonwealth Bank drive up their prices, thus drive up inflation, drive up the rate of CPI, means that when student debt is indexed, that goes up even further. Indeed, we've got a situation where, while gas corporations are making record profits, the government's so-called gas tax is only going to raise $2.5 billion over the next 4 years, at the same time as they're about to make $5 billion indexing student debt. We have a political and economic system entirely stacked against ordinary people, and a government unwilling to take on Coles, Woolworths, Commonwealth Bank and the other multinational corporations currently screwing Australians over, and I think a lot of people are fed up with it.